Sorry, but your voice. That's your magic. Office of the building, but the email one he had. Either Thursday.
I didn't see all of it listed on.
That's not, well, that's, I don't know how that is. It's been paid, that's. So, here we go. Thanks. If I could turn.
Hang on, Jeremy.
Did you get it?
Yeah, but I gotta turn off the AI ping pong.
Okay. Hey, you're welcome.
There we go.
Ask more at a time. Seems like it. Maybe.
Retirement?
Yeah.
Good. A long way off from mine. Oh, okay. Yep. I'm sorry. Is that the kind of magic number these days?
Social Security.
Okay,
First on my mind.
okay. Kind of a combination of what is it, time served and the time you got in. Well, sorry, that sounded awful. Good behavior. Sorry. That is. So like quick, public employee retirement fund is your service plus your age service calculation. And there's like a magic number. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
1:30 in the morning. I'll get this.
So, yes, that's good. Let's talk.
I'll give you, okay.
That's it.
That's cool. It's the bricks or what? Return sense?
Step.
Probably Big shaver and he made a guy falling off the ladder.
The what?
The guy falling off the ladder there on your sign.
We talked about that today.
Did you?
You know why we took that off? Because people were stopping. Yeah, it was funny.
That's funny. I heard you got eager over it.
He slammed on the brakes.
He still helped. Good shit, yeah.
You know, I did it. Put him in the chair. Like the next day, I said, I'm okay. We were talking about that today.
That's been 5 years.
At least that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Those kids are with us. Whoops.
Her my trainings, yes. But we got some stuff in the super account right now and some other stuff that it's been talked about, but it's not accurate for super account, so.
Yeah.
Call to order the, well, our attorneys.
Mayor, they're walking in the door.
Okay, never mind. Let's call to order the Board of Works meeting for Monday, October 6th. Please stand for the pledge and prayer.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we thank you for this evening gathered together. Ask for traveling mercies for every person as they go. And for your continued hand of protection upon our community. That you be with every family and bless them greatly. In Jesus' name, amen.
I have one.
Before, we get
I gotta
any,
do roll call. Okay. Minutes and then,
we'll want to amend the agenda.
okay. Roll call. Sarah is going. Roger Cuneo.
Present.
Ken Smith.
Here.
Jeremy Vanderman.
Here.
And I'm also. Okay. Now,
Okay, so real quick, we did advertise, so if you remember last meeting, we had done a surplus,
which I thought.
resolution. No, that's a new one, that's a different one. So we had done one before, we advertised bids, so we were accepting them and opening. Didn't make it to the agenda, and so I would recommend that we amend the agenda to add the opening of the bids for the surplus property.
We'll make that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
That's just fun to do. Okay. Approval of minutes for the September 2nd meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Approval of minutes for the September 9th executive session. All in favor? All opposed?
I'll abstain, I was absent.
approval of minutes for the September 9th special session.
Motion to approve.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So now, we have to do that again.
So that is ours, so that you do have that resolution. You should have that resolution in front of you. That's this. Yeah, so do they have a copy of it? So this is a resolution for a police vehicle, I think it's 2018 Cruiser, that the chief would like to have surplus. So it's for your consideration for the surplus of that cruiser, and then we'll have to go through the same advertising process that we did this time.
Is it a read by title only type thing? Or
Yeah, it's a resolution.
resolution? I'll make a motion to read the access vehicle resolution by title only.
In favor?
Sorry, it won't be, it'll be passed this
Passed.
resolution.
Okay, to read it and vote for pass. All minutes. Motion.
All right. Do we have a second on that?
You did.
I did. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
You need to read the title.
Think quite twice.
It spoke about the content of it.
Okay.
Oh. Now you're grounded. I'm also gonna sit down the resolution for the bid opening because it had a typo or a typing they needed corrected. So it was never signed back. Anything. Oh, sorry. Can't reach it from there.
3 bids for surplus property.
How many did you get? Just one?
Okay.
So what we have is one bid, one for the 1977 Galleon 503 series A grader.
That's. No, this one.
Yeah, I think this is, because that's what these were.
Okay.
This is just to declare the cruiser
Okay, okay.
surplus, so then that will be next
Yeah,
time.
that confused
There you
me.
go.
Okay. gotcha.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so that one's on there. So that bid amount is 5,100 for the 1998 C3 3500 Chevy dump truck, 2,600. And for the 1968 C50 Chevy 1000, my recommendation to the board is to take this under advisement, and we'll just make sure it complies with all the requirements.
I'm dumbfounded this grader got the highest number. No. I'll make a motion, take them under advisement for review and approval, final legal.
I'll second that. All in favor? Opposed?
I wonder if it's $5,000 worth of scrap metal.
Okay. Absent.
Good evening. Apologize, I can't speak too well. Needs to rain for a month. There's a couple things that you'll see in front of you for the fire department. First thing, I do want to start with a little good news. I was notified by FEMA last week, week prior. We've been awarded an AFG grant for $89,523. That is for new thermal imaging cameras and for diesel exhaust removal system to be added into the fire station. So over the next few months, we'll be working on getting that installed. With the government shutdown, I don't know when the check comes, but we did get the award prior to, so we have been guaranteed the money. So that's a good thing.
I'm gonna interject. He's wrote in his career over $2 million of grants for our city. He keeps submitting and really bringing it home. Thank
They're
you.
very competitive and highly sought after, so he's very lucky, and we're very fortunate to get him. So it will go a long way to help us out. The first thing on the agenda for me, you'll see, is the building needs. As I emailed all of you from Etica Group, our structural engineer, the needs of the fire department. So the apparatus bay floor is in very bad shape. It's 52, almost 53 years old, and hasn't been repoured. It's literally falling apart. Along with the south wall on the fire station is separating. It needs to be reattached. And then the front apron. The entirety of the project would also include updating and replacing the garage doors on the front, on the Harrison Street side. There's 5 of them.
Those are kind of old. How?
1993.
93.
The problem with where the concrete is settled over the years and popped up and displaced itself, all the doors well, they don't seal. So it rains and sighs, it snows and sand. They're not environmentally friendly for the electric and gas bills. So it's time. Again, the building's 52, almost 53 years old, and these things haven't been done. The front apron was last poured in 2000, and trucks didn't weigh what they weighed now. So that concrete out there is only 6 inches thick. It needs to be between 8 and 10. The interior apparatus bay floor from the core samples as you have is 4 inches. It should be at least 14, 10 to 14. So the recommendations are within everything that you received. The total project's about 600,000. And after speaking with Darcy and the mayor over the past couple months working through this project, I would highly recommend a bond. But that's for you guys to figure out. But that is something that we need to start looking at what we're going to do to fix the building to make it last another 50 years. So I would just like to put that on your radar we need to figure it out. We got to do something with the building. So structurally, the engineers say the building's good. It's just these parts need updated. So any questions on that? I emailed.
What's the process then for the bonds? How do we go?
That's not a me question.
Okay.
I can't answer that.
So in order to do bonds, I would really be running through council. So it wouldn't be this board. This stuff's
We
going
could
to,
make a recommendation, maybe.
you can make a recommendation
Okay.
for the council. So what you're gonna have to do is, whichever amount, this is gonna be a public work. So you're gonna have to determine what your procurement method's gonna be, whether that's gonna be straight design, bid build, or, design build, or BOT, or whatever. You gotta determine how it is that you wanna procure this. So there's a lot in there that has to go into place. When you talk about bonds, right now, I think it might be difficult to be able to get a bond. But I mean, you'd have to work with your FA to do all of the paperwork, because essentially you have to show that you have the available receipts that will cover 120% of the cost of making those bond payments. And so that's going to be up to the FA to make that determination through that process. Well, if you get there, then you go through the process of a bond ordinance, have the public hearing, things like that, because you're taking on debt that's going to be backed by taxpayer dollars.
Would this project be able to go both through township and city by chance, since we're a combined?
It's a city-owned building, so
Well, that's what my guess, I would have to look into it, but
I know one thing with Etika is, as you saw in the email, everything is through them.
Mhm,
I mean, that's
mhm.
how we get the project going, and, you know, all the pieces of the pie are
Plugged in.
plugged within that on not to exceed this cost, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
They're out of Fishers. They do government buildings.
Yeah, I know.
So, that's for you guys to figure out how we're gonna pay for it. I'm just telling you what we need.
Probably getting the cart before the horse here, but how would daily operations go during construction?
So there would be some additional cost with that, maybe. We haven't got that far yet, because obviously getting the project started is the key. But we would temporarily be dishoused of our apparatus. Or they did provide options. There's two options: do half and then half. I don't recommend that. Do the whole project at once and get it over with. Temporary storage of fire apparatus would be moved outside. There's a couple places that we would look. The Bob Rogers Center, renting temporary garages to put them in for security purposes.
Mhm.
And then if it made it to that point, I would request that we close off Water Street from Harrison to the alley. And we could put two temporary garages there for fire apparatus to go out onto Harrison Street.
Mhm.
The ambulances could stay in the back part of the building.
Yeah.
The new add-on that was in 2015, that's not affected. So we could still leave half our apparatus in there. The sleeping quarters, kitchen and day room, office area would still be open. It'd just be the entire apparatus room would be closed for a period of 30 to 60 days, depending on how the project went.
Yeah.
I do believe it's too late to do it this year.
Yeah.
But I would like to get the ball rolling to do it in 2026. You've all been down there.
Yeah.
We can't kick the can much longer on the floor. So.
Reason for my question is I've done some USDA work in the past, and sometimes we can get grants, but the USDA process is slightly painful. So didn't know if you guys would be, well, yeah, it took a couple years, but
The last time we were able to acquire any USDA money was 2008.
sure.
We got 50 grand. So
Well, if it wasn't worth it, I wouldn't recommend it, but we'll probably take a
things
look
have
at,
changed. I don't know.
yeah, take a look at that. See.
I mean, you're gonna want to see what capital stacks are available to get this done. Because I mean, it's a big expenditure, $600,000. It'll be a big
It's a big
expenditure.
project.
But one thing is, like, I know that Etiquette has indicated that for the procurement side, it sounds like what they're proposing to use kind of a BOT type situation where they're looking into the building. And so they do the design of it, guaranteed maximum contract price. They're the ones who get the people in there for construction. There's a selection process for that BOT that we're gonna have to follow too.
Yes. And we would try to use as many local people as we could. That's something that I did ask them if that's an option,
Yeah,
and
it's,
it is. So
it is, but they're gonna have to still go through the regular procurement
Right.
method, lowest responsible bidder. So,
second thing on my list, as you see, is an ambulance purchase. I'm requesting to purchase it to replace our 2017 ambulance. As you know, we have one ordered. It's been ordered for 2 years. It's scheduled to show up sometime next year, after summer. Uh, There has been a lot of changes in production over the past 2 years, post-COVID, et cetera, if you want to use that as an excuse. But this ambulance will be delivered about the same time next year. And the total purchase price is $363,480. That comes out of our EMS fund. We want paying for it out of ambulance calls. So if you have any questions on that, I'd gladly answer them. But this would be a 2026 F550 Braun Chief XL. Same ambulances we've been running since 2003. Very good quality, good turnaround, and they're made in Ohio. So if we have an issue, it's an hour and a half drive. But I would like to see that if that's signed today, that I would actually leave this meeting and go send it in, and it's locked, sealed, delivered tonight. So we'll have it within a year.
Is there a time frame how long the quote bid was good for? That probably just missed it. I'm sure it's on there.
It's 10 days. 30 days, sorry.
From the date of the letter,
It's
probably.
dated the first, yes.
Okay.
And if it's something you want to sign, I got a blank copy right here. So.
If you do sign, I recommend at least one, scratch it out and change. Under that contract, it says that it's governed under the laws of Ohio.
Yes, we have to change that every time.
Yep.
I remember we had to do that the last time. Something about their lawyers, I don't know. It's weird.
I hope they can get away with
They
it.
do change it.
Oh, for, yeah.
They do change it, but it has to come on our request.
Yeah.
But it does get changed. They changed it last year. Third, I'd like to make a conditional offer for a new hire for Andrew Story to replace Bryce Wilson. Send him to perf, pending perf result.
Make a motion to conditionally offer and pending proof.
Second that.
Thank you very much.
Are you voting on the ambulance tonight?
All in favor?
Yeah, we'll finish this up. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think it's up for discussion as to whether.
Well, I will say this, I have seen more than once, and Linda has seen more than once, Alexandria ambulance leaving town, they immediately have to call a backup from out of town. Because we only have one working ambulance.
They're back right now. We've had a lot of maintenance issues this year. It's just been, when it rains, it pours, but the trucks, they're used. I mean, they're wore out. And it's just, it's routine. It's time to replace it. And again, it's going to be another year before it shows up.
And this isn't due till delivery
No, it's not due till delivery now.
and no money. Just trying to see if we have any cash down, cash outlay up front or.
It's paid in full up front with a loan. And then the loan payment comes out of our EMS fund every year
But that loan hits now or at delivery,
at delivery.
right? So this is,
Everything's at
this is
delivery.
2 years out, almost.
Year out.
A year out. Thank you.
Year. So this also gives us time to save, and it also gives us time to acquire a buyer for our
Yeah,
trucks
for the other one,
and then use that money as well.
right? And you're looking at a few that might have some value. maybe.
We've got some people that are interested.
In
Yes.
some of our older.
It's in our older trucks. Yes.
Okay, great.
I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and move forward with this purchase.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Thank you. very
With the
much.
caveat, that's
We'll
now
get it changed.
Ohio for.
Circle, but you won't get it changed. I think we had to do the same thing last time. We've been there. And then the last thing that I have is I'd like to discuss the rescue truck, our current rescue truck is a 2023. And it really don't have the use for it. I hate to say that, but it's a truck that we don't utilize. It's really doesn't have a value for us. We would like to look at trading it for a ladder truck. We would like to move forward with purchasing of a ladder truck. A used one is preferably what we're looking at. That truck has value. It's worth quite a bit, honestly. But in the year that we've had it, it's not showing its use. We don't use it. You know, there's many reasons that we could utilize a ladder truck. It would take all day and a month to explain it. Are you going to see it used every day? No, you don't see the trucks now that we use every day. It's a specialty truck. It has some benefit. Some things that would benefit us greatly is it would help reduce over time the ISO rating for the city and the township, which would benefit any homeowner or business owner that are here with potential reduction in their insurance. Again, that takes time. It's not done overnight, but we would like to look at options of trading in this truck. It will make a great truck for somebody. It just doesn't really have a good value use for us in our current environment. So what I'm asking is a value that I could look at to stay under, to potentially replace the truck with and bring it back to you for further discussion later. I'm sorry. I just wanted to be thought about. Again, the truck's got a great trade-in value. I can't give an exact number until we have numbers to play with, but I just want it to be something to be considered and looked at for the future.
Would the ladder be a multi-use, like a pumper as well?
It's a pump. It's a Quint, so it'd be a pumper and
So
it'd be a multifaceted truck.
It would be a multi.
It'd be a multifaceted truck. You just have the ability to go
Right.
higher in the air.
Currently, you have to call.
We have to call mutual aid, yes. Either Elwood, Chesterfield, or Anderson, Gas
We
City.
want to fight a fire from the top
Right.
down, like a nozzle.
Yeah, we have to call mutual aid from Anderson, Elwood, Chesterfield, Gas City, Muncie, Tipton. We do not have one.
You're asking us,
I'm looking at things so much, but right now.
you just need
I'm
to
asking
look
for like a top number.
Oh,
So just an example, a new one's about 1.6 to 1.8 million.
Yeah.
A used one's anywhere below that.
yeah.
I would like to be comfortable to stay below 700 or below. But again, that doesn't factor in the trade. I don't know what the trade's gonna be.
Current value of the rescue vehicle.
It's around 500,000,
But
between 400,000 and 500,000.
might have you go see what's out there and just bring things back for us to see, because we
There's a
really
lot
don't have a
out there.
clue without seeing what the market is.
Yeah.
I don't have,
The sky's the limit.
well,
So if you want, but
we're not
but
asking for
we're
something from New York.
right, no, but we're also looking, NFPA limits ladders at 25 years. So federal, before they have to be completely refurbed. So we want to definitely stay underneath that. I'm looking in the 2008 to 2015 range, and those are ranging between,
Yeah, so
400,
if we got 10
800,000.
years old, it'd have 15 years of serviceable life.
so. Again, it's a multifaceted truck. It would be utilized in multiple ways, but the option would be there to have the aerial device for life safety and for an elevated waterway.
Yeah.
So I guess a round number that I'm looking for is about not to exceed 700,000, but that doesn't factor in the trade because till we start talking, I don't know what that number would be. The value of the truck's between 400,000 and 500,000 of our current truck. Appreciate it.
Okay. Next meeting will be Monday, October 3rd.
We have people here from the trailer park that would like to speak. It's,
We just sign the forms.
I did, I'll speak now.
And the speaking is in the council meeting. At the beginning, so.
Has anybody addressed them though?
This is, if you let me go during your meeting, there's not public comment on this. So.
You're gonna silence these people that have no water?
It's not what he said.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But you're not letting them speak.
The speaking comes at the next meeting, which starts immediately after this meeting.
All fair.
Okay, much.
Buddy might work. for-
Okay. Okay.
Pretty much everything.
I do have to. Council meeting.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Between Beth and Tracy.
Your blood pressure maintained. Gentlemen,
Good to see you. We're gonna ask you to another chair.
Whatever that means. Yeah, sounds cool.
How you been? Good.
Oh, I'll be around.
If you do, we can have with the right. She has all the options.
Hey, no.
I think the black and white one.
I just got it. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, me too. Longer than I don't use it as much because I'm a little frustrated. And
That's what I've been trying to figure out, but I've had it in a week.
I struggle with mine too, and the color, the screen does this weird glitchy refresh every time I try to touch something. Like I'll open it and see how it kind of flashes and glitches over.
Yeah.
It does it because it's color. I don't think that one
It kind of doesn't.
does it. I mean, it's neat, but I'm like, I was hoping I would get rid of all my paper.
I've got binders in my office. So I'm like, I can't take a box of binders with one meeting and it's like, I need this one from this other meeting.
So you got a different binder for everything, right? So I thought this would do the same thing. I'm hopeful,
But I'll tell you,
I'm not sold.
we spent the money. Well, we got it. It looks fancy. It looks good. Good, Harry. I have a question for you after. Oh, that's right. I say myself.
And that's okay. Yeah, come back whenever. Just like- Right, let's go. Enough stuff for them to give you their insights.
Well, the thing is.
Yeah, we still have time to rock and roll. We're gonna get there. Hey, all right. Now,
Resolution endorsed. It's true. It's heavy duty.
It's your bike.
Okay. I would just see a couple of signers. Just on a side note, really starting this. Is there any utility or you?
I'm feeling.
I know we didn't utilize it.
Yeah.
Was our
If you could just, when you find them, email them to me. Thank you.
I got to wash my hands too with running water.
Call to order the city council meeting for October 6th, 2025. Roll call, Roger Cunningham,
Present.
Tom Berthel,
Present.
Wendy Goins,
Present.
Amy McCreary,
Present.
Dave Lusk. No. Don Kerr, here. Ernie Van Erman.
Here.
City Attorney Julie here. Clerk Treasurer Darcy Van Erman. And I'm also. Oh, Don is here. It won't be an official participation in the meeting because in looking back, your ordinances go back to the pandemic itself. You haven't adopted a new control policy.
We get 10 versus, but not a vote, no motions, no actions.
Public comment. You said for.
I don't know who those.
Has the receivership been filed? For the trailer park?
So this is not a question and answer period. It's an opportunity for the public to address the council.
I just did.
Well, you asked a question and.
Okay, well, if I'm still addressing you. What about RUD? What's happening with that? Is that going anywhere? With RUD, Rural Utility District? That is Phillips Edition, Scott's Edition? Nobody has any idea. What about the CO2 pipeline that's coming through, or they want to put through?
We're still discussing that with Poet at this time.
And it's still an opportunity for the public to address the
It's
council.
not, yeah, I'm sorry. It's hard. It's hard not to.
Why can't you answer my questions? I don't understand.
It's a comment, a public comment. That's it. It's not a question. It's a public comment. It's been, we've said it every time we've had it.
I think it's absolutely absurd that no one is trying to help the park at all. Quite frankly.
Real quick, can you tell me your name?
Olivia Mabbitt. I live in trailer 48.
So, yeah.
You coming out, you did come out, you come out and told everybody the water was getting shut off. You also are the only one who voted. You initiated the vote to turn off the water. Why did no one go after the park? Why is there still no accountability held towards them? It's just us. I have 4 children.
We've all got kids out there. I got one sitting right here. That's
My
18.
4 children have to go down the street to take a shower. My 4 children can't wash their hands unless it's bottled water. And I just feel like you guys have left us out in the dust. Just like you want to get rid of us, quite frankly. I feel like you could all do better.
Way better.
Bottled water, mind you, that we have to hunt down because we don't even know where it is.
It's
We
just
have to make 3 or 4 different phone calls.
Okay, during
To find out where it is.
You have to State your name for the record. You
Oh,
have 2
Stacy
minutes to-
O'Brien, I signed the paper outside,
you have
I'll
2
stand
minutes to address-
but the water, we don't even know where it is. Nobody knows where it is. We have to constantly, where's the water? Does anybody have water? And when one person's out of town, they drop it off to one person in the park's house. You did that.
I did.
You did. No one knew there was water there. We went without water for 3 days. I did myself because she kept it. She didn't tell anyone that she had water. She said, that's your job. So next time you bring water, bring it to a public place out there so we don't have to deal with that. So we don't have one person that got donated all this water, right? But we know, you guys have a thing. You guys are friends. That's fine. I don't care. No,
Never
met a Please.
woman before this.
please. You'll have, okay. Yeah, you weren't at her house dropping everything off, talking to her.
This.
Okay.
This-
All right, I'm done.
I ended up dropping off 30 cases of water to them. Just last week?
And this is Crystal Jenkins, and she did drop 30 cases to my house. I was the one that delivered to everybody out there. Because the water that you dropped off, the lady did not disperse it to anybody. That's not right to me if I'm sitting there having to do a job and take him to work and everything else. You as a mayor should be doing your job and doing what's right out there. And that's all I have to say.
I think the council should actually help these people give them some money to get their another place to go, an apartment, a house, something, at least pay the first month's rent and security deposit for them. I think that's the least the city could do, because it went on for 2.5 years. 2.5 years, and then Board of Works had no clue about it, had no idea that, this was happening. And then all of a sudden, these people are without. I mean, how is that possible? How is that possible that Board of Works had no clue that the water was 2.5 years behind? $100,000.
Fairmount didn't even go that far behind. Anderson ain't even that far behind. I, Olivia Mavick, cannot move. I have a mortgage on my home that cannot be moved until it's paid off. That's $14,000 if anybody wants to pitch in.
I, Stacy O'Brien, I'm trying to sell my home, but I can't because they know the situation at the park. So I'm stuck with no water because I can't move unless I sell my house. I don't have savings. I don't have a ton of money. I mean, I'd be happy with, $10,000. That would buy me a house. That would put me down payment on something. That's what I'm trying to sell my home for because it's worth that. But I won't just leave it there for you to take.
And I, Crystal Jenkins, had to pull out a loan to move, and that's still not enough.
Oh, so now we're shut up. Okay.
You get 2 minutes. Thank you.
I'm not getting answers and all that. Insanity. I would walk outside.
Questions? I'll make a motion to approve meeting minutes from September 2nd.
I'll second.
Favor.
Aye.
Opposed.
All right, 19212 through 19297, the amount of $218,008.12.
Okay, so discussion for this real quickly, Jewel, I might need you to chime in because at September's meeting, during the regular meeting, we were advised to not pay claims out of the continuously negative funding for utilities such as storm, water, sanitation. What's the fourth one? Sewage. But also including slot, the negative funds, right? So what we don't have is the workaround for that. So if we say today, as we did in September, that we would like to exclude claims from the negative funds without disrupting payroll, what is the solution for that?
You would be pulling out those claims that are to be paid from those funds. So it would be approval of warrants, this excluding whatever is being paid from the funds that you referenced. So I think, was it last month or a couple months ago, I think Amy had a list of, these are the ones that were attributed to the negative fund balance accounts.
I didn't make a list this time. I was just kind of going off of what the other recommendations were and then the correction of errors. I do know that Darcy worked on getting some of those accounts corrected. And so just still trying to comprehend where we are and what took place there. It kind of led waiting on. Over there, so I did not go through and write them because I was still a little bit confused on which ones we did allow, which ones we didn't allow. Because not all on my first list did we end up not allowing. So therefore I didn't decide to make a list. I just thought that.
Right, because included in the original list were items that, towards payroll. And obviously, we're not going to not pay city out of those funds. And then I guess the question for me too is there were claims out of some of those funds for contractors. So this is most likely work that's already been done that, you know, we're trying to submit payment. But like I said, the instruction is we have to stop bleeding out of those negative funds until there's this upcoming discussion over the rate increases that are necessary as, you know, the city is, you know, creating a deficit and not just creating, but continuing the deficit until we look at raising rates that have not been done in years.
So if you don't have the individual claim numbers, it will create more work for Darcy's office. But it would be a motion to approve claims that are being drawn out of funds that have a positive cash balance and excluding those that are from negative cash balances. But then she's gonna have to go through and line all those up.
Can we also add the caveat that we'll pay out of negative funds for payroll?
Well, you have the separate payroll and pension item. I mean, I don't know what is in your claims list, the approval of claims, so those warrants. I don't know if any payroll is listed in those, because you do have on your agenda the approval of payroll and pension.
There's a little crossover between the two, but yes, I'm picking up what you're picking up.
And so if there are some payroll things
Like
like
there's part of them first on your paying cycle that isn't in your payroll. Your police and fire pension funds. Anything that would under description say payroll clearing, that would be a good way to understand those concepts. But again, those come out of that 8,000 series that we talked about. So those are not any of the funds. Well, that's not true because there's sewage and sanitation. So I apologize. So yes, I would state if you're looking at your claim cycle with your APV, look under 6 rows to the right, left to right, go 6 rows over under description, and it'll say payroll clearing. Everything else usually has, yeah, some other kind of a descriptor. I just want to make sure I'm not being too long. But in doing so, for instance, on this first batch that we're talking about, so if you do that as a blanket, you will not be paying the gas bill for the utility entities.
That was one of my concerns.
Like heating
Sure.
gas or fuel gas?
Center Point, and then you have IUPPS, which does our low pay.
That's my bigger concern with utilities. We got trucks on the road, tires being put on vehicles. How do we not approve tires that might have already been put on trucks on the road today that went through the claim cycle?
Yeah, it just felt
The
like there was,
utilities is kind of a concern because they the money's coming in, money's going out. It's in the deficit, I understand, but yet how do we keep the water, sewer, storm functioning daily?
The other one would be the Alexandria utilities. Every city department pays a utility bill. So now the utility department would not be paid for the utility bill from those entities.
I do understand not paying from negative fund balances for sure, especially some that are tax-based, and some of the utilities are obligated to keep the guys out there doing their work. So we're just kind of looking for some guidance maybe on how to navigate the waters.
So this is what the council needs to keep in mind is you are the fiscal body. When you have a negative balance in a fund, if you approve any claims out of that fund, you're going to be increasing that negative balance. So you are going to continue to spend in that deficit. That deficit's going to have to be picked up someplace. So you're not paying out of the utility. Essentially, what you would be doing is paying those bills with other allowable funds, which should necessitate really a short-term loan or something of that nature, especially if you're going to use controlled funds, which are the taxpayer dollar type situations. And so you have a lot of restricted uses in there, things that cannot be used for those sorts of purposes. You'll want to make sure that if you're doing that, that you are getting the clear record as to where that money is coming from to pay for it, and that you have it documented on the backside to say, this council is taking action either on a short-term loan or whatnot. But those short-term loans, the things about those is they've got to be paid back by the end of that calendar year. And so that's kind of the pinch that you're in here with your utilities. They are not controlled funds like taxpayer dollars because it's user fees, right? State Board of Accounts isn't going to look at them and say, oh, this is the process for this. But the problem is that's what is drawing down right now your balance. That's what's.
So some of the funds that aren't, it's a matter of just cleanup. Correct.
That's why you saw the COEs, which I understand you haven't seen my audit records. I was just, Wendy and I had a really good meeting this morning, and it didn't dawn on me to send you like, kind of like math class, math teacher says, show your math. I didn't even think that thought. It was trying to get you what you needed to keep you moving forward. So, but I have all those audit files because obviously I have I've been working with State Board of Accounts as well, just to make sure everything is compliant with what we're doing too. So, yeah, I don't mind sharing those things and setting up those times those are obviously on the other docket, not this specific first docket. So not trying to muddy the waters there. We have a couple ships in the water moving, so.
so layman's terms. I guess what I'm understanding is that if we do not pay claims out of negative funds, sewage, wastewater, we would be pulling it out of another fund. So we would be robbing Peter to pay Paul. The money's got to come from somewhere to continue to keep the city moving forward and paying bills.
And the ultimate question is going to be which funds are those coming out of? Because you will have certain requirements to utilize certain controlled funds for a purpose like that. And that's the thing that you have to match up. Because you can't go out and take restricted funds like motor vehicle highway, things of that nature to just use wherever. If you are taking it from the general fund and they're non-appropriated dollars, we're either going to have to do a transfer or do an appropriation from the general fund to fund a line item to take care of it. So and to do appropriation, you have to advertise it, you have to have the public hearing, and then you can take action on that appropriation. So it's not a matter of just, okay, let's approve these claims and then we pull money out of the general fund to pay it. You gotta have those other steps or else State Board of Accounts is going to have an issue with that. At least that's been my experience.
And that's that specific item, not to wade into the weeds on that one, but there's training both ways from the DLGF. DLGF says one thing, State Board of Accounts says another, with one swift action at year end for cleanup versus multiple, like every meeting you have additional appropriations. So you see that every community just.
I don't know that you can spend any funds without an appropriation. That's my advice to this council. So you should not spend any taxpayer dollars without first appropriating the monies for that, which means you have to have the public hearing. You have to say, we are going to put this in to general fund for fire department under the supply major budget category. Like you have to make those appropriations. If you start spending dollars without those appropriations, I get nervous. I don't know about you guys, but I get extraordinarily nervous.
And I know that we did do a public statement in February, March for the 2024 appropriations, and we talked about that after the last meeting. So is that something that is still?
Nope, those are also taken care of.
So we didn't have to do the appropriations. See, that's where I get confused because we advertised for it and then, just trying to learn,
Right.
And
And that's part of where I have to double check myself with State Board of Accounts. That's why I have active dialogues with them instead of just my mentors, right? Sometimes you go right to the horse's mouth. And when you've got an email that will back you up stating from State Board of Accounts how to proceed forward, that's what I hallmark on.
So, okay, since when,
Yes.
after our last meeting, you
Yes.
found that out. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
No, you're welcome.
And I know, and this was in a question too, so since we've just brought it up, you know how my mind works. We had talked before, I know Rachel had been working with previously known as ARPA funds and had brought something to us or to Todd to have put on the agenda. And then she called and said, we can't do it because it wasn't appropriated. So at that point, we needed an appropriation. And I said, well, as we learn what we need to do, when we need to appropriate, let's wait. And so we can do that for next year.
I was just waiting for somebody to tell me to act. I never got the green light to act. So I knew there were conversations, but I didn't know where everybody was. So I was waiting on that direction. So I don't, not everything can I move without direction. That was one of those things. So that isn't for this year, calendar year, it would have been an additional appropriation. Should you choose to do reserve spending out of the general fund, which is where those dollars live, for lack of a better way of saying it, we would be doing, well, it would look like spending from reserves, kind of like when you save for projects every year.
Okay.
Like we've done with some of the road project.
So when you say waiting on, would that be Rachel to act, Todd to act? Like, who are you waiting on to act?
I always look towards the chieftain. So I'm looking towards council, or I'm looking for direction from council, or I'm looking direction from the mayor. Always looking for one of those two to advise me how you want to proceed forward.
Okay.
I'm your clerk. I try to keep you organized and keep us moving forward. I can advise, but I don't have authority. You all are the authorities.
Well, and I was just curious because if it wasn't on the agenda, I wouldn't have even known.
Sure.
So I don't know how council could give the go ahead. I would think that your answer would have been from the mayor in that particular. Correct?
Yeah.
Like, that's part of the problem, I think,
Yeah.
too. All along I've asked, like, and I keep saying family tree for lack of a better term, like, Board of Works, like, when is the Board of Works? There were questions that were asked earlier by the audience that I found out about the trailer park reading it in the paper. you know, so there were questions, but they're asking me. And I don't need it. I mean, I'm not trying to stir, but I'm just saying, as a council, knowing whose job is what and where and those type of things, it's very daunting and confusing and so to me, it was Board of Works. And then but then the questions had to come through council and I don't like looking like the villain, you know?
Sure.
So, and I don't think anyone else up here does either. So that's why when I asked that just now, like, to me, it sounded like that should come then from the mayor, and not to throw the mayor, but I was told from the mayor's administrative assistant. So it goes back to, again, like, who's in charge of the agenda? You know, we've had these questions, and I think it's just hard for us to know without any kind of direction what exactly it entails or what exactly we should ask about.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
sorry, I went
No,
on that,
no.
but
Very well said. Thank you.
thanks. Were we with anything that?
Back to claims. I feel like there's no good way to move in this until what I'm hoping for is that further information about what rate studies could do for us as a city, and kind of moving the needle on these funds that continue to be negative.
Would you like, not to interrupt you, I apologize. Would you like to move the financial portion of the meeting maybe towards after we've heard from, regarding the rate studies? Move it kind of flip flop, applesauce.
Tabling claims until the end of the meeting.
So essentially you would be amending the agenda to, because since you're not adding anything, that's good, but you're just moving to the bottom.
Is that up to you? Again, I just throw spaghetti at the wall.
I'll make a motion to move it.
Second.
Do we want to payroll or that?
With that, yeah, this should the motion include all of it,
I think that moved it.
all financials, okay.
I
The
do that.
next item is. Okay, 2026 annual budget public hearing. Well, let's open it. So, yeah, so I mean, I would solicit if there's anybody from the public who wants to offer any testimony regarding the advertised budget.
Brian Donahue, you're right on subject. I mean, you're literally, your water department, you're underwater. You cannot continue this negative spending. Your rates, you need to look at your rates. You do it post haste. So let me just urge council and, I've offered you anything I can do to help too. I'm here to help. So wherever I can help, it needs to be addressed post haste. You can't continue the negative spending, obviously. So I encourage you and, let's address this sooner than later. Point.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Twenty 2026 salary ordinance. This is the first read, so unless you suspend the rules.
You need a motion to read by title only.
You can do
It's
that if you want.
tonight's introduction.
This-
Are we under any type of time crunch to do a double reading or? have a special advertisement for special meeting for additional readings at this point in time.
Oh, go ahead, Jewel, I apologize.
You know, because this is the salary ordinance, obviously your budget is going to reflect this salary ordinance. But you got that salary ordinance, the second reading and vote will be at your next meeting, which is budget is up for adoption as well.
So your special meeting instead of a working session on October 20th for budget and salary. To stay on track with time.
Would the first vote on the proposed draft ordinance be at that meeting as well? And it was tonight, just a public hearing for introduction of the budget.
So the budget's been advertised as required, and so you have to have that public hearing, so it's an opportunity for the.
And then a wait time.
And then you take action at your next,
Thank you.
next time on the budget is.
Okay.
No, there's no public hearing on the salary ordinance. You just need to either have second read or you need to suspend the rules to take action on. But there's no rush because your budget's not.
So we need,
So this is just discussion.
we need a motion.
Yeah, this is questions and stuff.
Discussion. I don't think we need a motion.
Yeah. It's a first reading. It's a first reading.
No, by reading, yeah, so I know that Donna and Sarah have been working with the police and fire. So as far as like clothing allowance, some of these other things, I'm sure they'll report when they can. I know Donna is here. I don't know if she can. I think she's just you only, maybe not able to speak. I know she couldn't vote. But just to bring everyone up to date to know that that's taking place. That may or may not, it may not have anything to do with any changes, but just so you know that that is what.
Our last negotiation meeting, Donna advised, that we're gonna, we're still reviewing everything with the rate settings and things like that. So they even let both arms of public safety know that we're still, y'all are still working.
Okay, that's what okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Not to speak for her.
No, well, I kind of did, but just so that everyone knew.
We're in a holding pattern.
There you go. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm glad she. And then, Libby, did you have?
What I discussed with Darcy earlier, and she's made corrections to, is the dates. So there's been an amendment sent to your emails with corrected years, which was minor. And then my only concern is the caveat with the asterisks that premiums, incentives, and other bonuses are applied when applicable. My understanding is that will go before the Board of Works for what that structure looks like. And I would love to see that language because it's hard to approve that without knowing what it is. That makes me feel like putting the cart before the horse. Like what is the title? Is this a required certification or a required, what does that incentive structure looks like outside of police and things like that? So is it required for your job? Or are you doing it just because you're interested in it and things like that?
I can give you a little bit of insight on that. Most of the certifications that our people hold is required for the job. Well, all of it is. It's like spraying for insects, you have to have a certification for that. CDLs, to run a wastewater plant, you have to have certain certification. And I encouraged everybody out there to get some certification, just so it's both water and wastewater, just so they understand the process. And to get one of these certifications, you either have to go to school or study on your own for a long period of time, and they're not easy tests for the wastewater or the water, either one. So, I mean, it's something when they get that, So I kind of feel like that's gone above and beyond. We should voluntarily.
Am I understanding what you said though, was that in order to hold the job, they have to have it? I may have
In
misunderstood.
order to run our plant, they have to have some.
And I don't
some-
need specifics,
yes.
because they do a great job, so I don't think,
Yes,
anything like that. I'm just trying to.
They have to have it, but they have to go continuing education
Sure,
every year. I
that's
mean, there's a lot to it there, other than, I mean, it's a big deal and we have to have them, so.
So I think that's what you're asking from the Board of Works, is like what they consider routine must have. Is that what I'm hearing?
And then
And
add-ons,
required
is
versus-
it like an à la carte menu? And what do those incentives look like? You know, how much are we paying for these certifications and things like that? So,
Which we're not paying him. But
correct,
but-
but it's in
yeah.
the salary ordinance. So what we get is just the baseline.
I can get you guys some stuff, some basic information on it. But I'm not basic. I'll get you all the information on what we were kind of thinking.
Okay.
I would like to ask for amendments before it goes out. I was as a department head included in any of that, and my team is not included in any of that. Thank you.
I noticed that stormwater was not included as the superintendent as well. And then my other question would be Mark Talmadge, like, where is he in, because I thought he was park superintendent, but then we have the whole park thing, and then he's in charge of maintenance. So does that make him the superintendent for maintenance? Because I know he has some additional, like his electrician. It was amazing what he's been able to do. So he isn't listed here, or is he?
So,
or
your
something
department
like
heads
that.
and labor, those are more broad than fire and police, because that is all of your your public works labor. That's all your utilities, street department, Mr. Talmadge, that department heads and labor on the bottom of the second page. So they are a superintendent in public works, it's that. They are an assistant superintendent in public works, it is that. Grade 4 labor, that's all public works.
Okay,
So each person, each department isn't going to be built out individually, like what you're thinking. So it's specific to certain departments, but then public works is not specific.
Are you talking about incentives?
No, I was talking about what she's looking for specific people.
I was
Spelled out.
talking about incentive.
Oh,
I was
I apologize.
in
I
here.
thought you were talking about the salary ordinance.
No, I'm sorry, when we were on this, because it lists department heads, but it doesn't say stormwater, and it doesn't have like where Mark would fall, so who would evaluate theirs? I guess is what I'm saying, if they're not, or were they accidentally left off?
Yeah, because stormwater would have them. Mark might have some.
So that's,
They are included. Yes.
so that's
It-
just
it
something
must have
else
been
when you're
an
going
accident.
through that,
I missed.
that I was.
Which part are you want to do?
That's okay, the incentives, bonuses, and compensation modifications. It says department heads, but it goes on, only department heads can recommend upgrading of employees, and then it lists department heads herein are the mayor, clerk treasurer, water superintendent, wastewater.
This was articulation pulled out of the employee handbook that hasn't been updated since 2009. So yes.
Okay,
So I will gladly get them added,
okay,
since they are department heads. Yes, ma'am.
that was kind of my question.
I
And if-
apologize. I was looking at the wrong spot on the salary ordinance.
So you're, it's a lot to take in, and it's ever changing, or, because it hasn't been ever changing, it's the whole scene.
Ready?
I got a question about longevity. Okay. So their fifth year, after their fifth year, we give them $80? Or is it $80 added on to their pay?
Times 5.
Times 5?
Times
Year.
5. So after 5 years, it's for each year, $80. And that is.
So it'd be 6 years, it'd be 80 times 6.
So
That
some
needs to
employees,
be explained a little
so
better.
some employees
I was
like
gonna
it.
say
goes
80,
back to
80
the
bucks
check.
for 5 years. That's what it seems to me. Oh, here's your $80. Thanks for the 5 years.
So some employees like it all on one check, some employees like separate checks, and that's something that each employee just has conversations with their payroll department.
That needs to be fair. Okay, we'll move along to resolution for Title VI implementation.
I'll do that. So this Title VI implementation is an annual renewal that we do on that plan. That plan is used for our federal dollars that we receive for things like the Washington Street project. It's just updated each year. We work along with the Madison County Council of Government to put that together. And so it is all up to date for where we are as of today. And we would carry that through for the 2026 year.
And that's an annually.
It's done annually.
For some reason, I felt like it was every 2 years to get worse than now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did Brett take off?
Yes, he had to be in Elwood.
Yeah, Brett was here for a little bit. That's, he presented on it last time. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay. Chief Matson.
Is there any questions on the hazmat ordinance? It's for tonight's to be passed. It was first read last time. Good to go today. Nothing's changed. Exactly.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you very much.
I'll say it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Okay.
Jessica from Baker Tilly.
Hi, I'm Jessica Lynch. I'm a director with Baker Tilly. I've worked with the city for 5-6 years now. I know Darcy put together binders for all of you, which has the backup with the actual reports of the rate analysis that we've done. So we looked at sewer, stormwater, water, and sanitation is still in draft because we had just gotten some answers to questions that's last week. So that one's still in draft, but each of these reports are anywhere between 20 to 40 pages. So we condensed this into the PowerPoint presentation that we passed out earlier. So that's what I'm going to walk through with you right now. I want to pull that out.
Darcy, and thank you for doing this. This makes so much sense.
I tried to what would I like if I woke up in your world? And I would love a binder.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So basically, what they had is in here.
Yes, so the one
already. Okay,
we didn't realize you already had them all in the binder.
No,
So you have an
no.
extra of the sewer.
Oh,
But we have extras of all the other ones if you want them too. So.
Nope, I just wanted to make sure that, because that sometimes, as you can see on paper.
It's a lot of information. So just the first slide, just going through our objectives for the rate study, just, reestablishing the financial position, making sure you're meeting all your recommended or required balances. For sewer specifically, looking at those capital projects, the long-term control plan that are required by item. And then looking at your operating expenses and then the overall revenue requirements or costs of each utility. So we have sewer first. That's probably the biggest animal of all of them with the long-term control plan and going through those negotiations with item. So first, kind of we've got each section for each utility laid out pretty much the same way, but showing where cash balances have been historically. So looking at the last 3 years. So you'll see on slide 4, where in 2022, the cash balance for the sewage works was around 780,000. In 23, it drops to 380,000. And then now it's a negative balance of negative 10,900. And that mainly is the operating fund is actually negative 180,000. The sinking fund, which is your bond and interest, your debt service reserve, that's 143,769, which is actually underfunded where the debt service reserve needs to be, but we'll see that on the next page, but just kind of showing you that trend of depleting those cash balances. So page 5 just shows your historical receipts disbursements. So kind of what's depleting those cash balances. So you can see the blue bar for each year is the revenue that you've been bringing in from sewer collections. So it's around 1.6 to 1.7 million each year. But your disbursements, what you've been paying out, is around 2 million to 2.1 million every year. So significantly higher than the revenues that are being brought in. And so just saying, looking at from a historical perspective, the last time rates were increased were in 2017, so it's 8 years ago. We, Bigger Tilly, did prepare a rate analysis back in 2020, so 5 years ago. At that time, based on the information we had, the costs of the utility were $1,680,000. So what you've been paying over the last 3 years, 22, 23, and 24, are $500,000 higher than that, what was in our 2020 rate analysis.
Quick question.
Yes.
You guys don't dive into those too deep to help identify maybe what particular expenditures are maybe the triggers for some of that, do you?
Yeah, we'll do a minimum expense analysis, a broad expense analysis, but we're not auditors, so we don't go in and look at every
You're
single
looking
claim.
A little bit step back, a
higher
little bit higher
level,
view. You're
yes.
not- So for us to find out kind of why, we're gonna have to dive a little deeper
Yes.
into some of that. Okay.
Yeah, and so we've got some of that information. If you turn to page 6, we've got the disbursements then and a pie graph showing your different costs of the sewage works. And so I have on here in 2020 for that rate analysis, operating disbursements were estimated moving forward to be around 900,000. And they've actually been about 1.3 million the last 3 years. It was 1.3 million in 22 and 23, and then 1.2 million in 24. So $300,000 to $400,000 higher than what was anticipated based on 2020 information. The main driver that it looked like for those is for your personnel. In 2020, that rate analysis, which that's salaries and wages, health insurance, life insurance, any employee benefits, that was around 480,000 was what was provided to us to be estimated. And that is what has been paid in personnel is about $300,000 higher than that. Every year it was 760,000 in 22, 790,000 in 23, and then 660,000 in 24. So $200,000 to $300,000 higher than it was in 2020. Also in 2020, the estimated capital improvements annually was around 230,000. Stayed under that level for 22 and 23, but then 24 was a couple $100,000. It was around 396,000, about $150,000 higher. We broke out what some of those capital improvements were on page 7. So Washington Street was a big one. The bar screen project in 24 was a large one. That was almost $250,000. Some of the long-term control plan back truck payment, so you can see that kind of breakout. On page 8, that's where we show your fund balances again, but just for 2024, but compared to what's required per your outstanding 2021 bonds. There's a bond ordinance that authorized the issuance of that debt, and there are requirements for each fund, minimum balances that you're required to maintain or you're not in compliance. And so that's what these minimum balances required are based on. So for the operating fund, that's 2 months of operations for the utility. So based on what you've currently been spending, that's around $236,000. So that balance is underfunded. The debt service reserve is, and actually you have 5 years to build that up. So the bonds were issued in 2021. So you have until the end of 25, I believe it's the end of this year, to get that to the correct balance. But so right now, at the end of 24, it was underfunded. It had 144,000 in it, and it should have had 318,600 in it. So it was underfunded. The improvement fund, there's no actual required balance in that. That's just a recommended balance based on best industry practices, usually kind of your historical capital spending. And then there was a little money in the construction fund, which is required to be spent on the projects that money was in there for. But so overall, under by about $830,000. So page 9 shows the capital projects then, and what the city has been negotiating, working with our QAW, and negotiating with IDEM for their long-term control projects.
Can I be rude again? I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
you're not rude. No, feel free to interrupt me. It's gonna be a lot of
Well,
information.
we're jumping into a whole nother thing here.
Yeah.
Before we finish up the regular stuff, I know a few of the projects for Mark, for Dave, a few other guys, like historically as a city, small town, we'll save up 5 or 10 years to make a large capital purchase. That screen was one $250,000 piece of equipment that they won't buy again for 20 years.
Okay.
So it impacts this current rate study. We're looking at 3 to 5 years in the past, but that won't probably hit again for 20 years. However, there are other big capital purchases that are about that size Dave needs, Mark needs. So even though it was kind of a hit right now, there's another one around the corner.
Yeah.
So just talking, thinking out loud, I'm pulling Amy's hat right now, sorry. But I want to give the guys money for capital projects, but I just want to make sure we're not looking at a couple big purchases that happen that are 20-year purchases, or how we kind of blend it in here to make, because I want the guys to have money to fix. We got aging stuff that's 50 years old and it does need replaced. And I know, working with asset management plans and capital improvements, and it looks bad because it hit right now.
Yeah.
But still trying to digest myself if it's as bad as what all it seems to be.
Well, so for the rate analysis for the future rate increases, it was based on a 5-year future capital improvement plan, not historical capital improvements.
Okay.
And I have not gotten to that slide yet. So that's
It's always
on page
wait
12.
and
Yeah.
the questions will be answered if you let the presenter.
But no,
do that.
no, feel
So,
free. Like I said, it's a lot of information. So when the question comes to mind, ask it. I will not be offended.
Thank you.
Yes. So page 9, the capital improvement. So our QAW, like with a whole laundry list of capital items, that total, all the projects was about $21 million. It was 20.71 million. Of that, about 19 million was recommended to be bond funded, and then about 1.64 million was recommended to be rate funded. And so that's what's going to be part of the 5-year capital improvement plan for the requirements for the rate adjustment. And so we were looking at the state revolving fund to be able to finance some of these projects. It would go through their pooled financing. So on page 10, this is kind of the summary of the different financing alternatives that we've been discussing with our QAW and the mayor and Darcy. But so you'll see the different options that we had considered in the rate analysis. The first one, that first column there is no projects. So not doing any of the long-term control projects, just getting back to healthy cash balances and meeting your required reserves requires a 40% increase. That would bring up your current average residential monthly bill of 4,000 gallons. Right now it's $55.41. That would bring it up to $77.62. Just another thing to note, just since we were looking at the state revolving fund, I know typically they will not come in and offer grant dollars for rate relief unless that average bill is over $100. So you're still under that $100.
For sewer only or for water sewer combined?
For sewer only. It's gotten very high.
Again,
Yeah.
last I knew it was 50, 55, then it went
Yeah.
to 75. I thought we're good at 75.
Yeah. And actually, the last year, 24 was 85 for sewer, 65 for water, but it's gone up another $20 this year for each.
Well, I can Google it.
Can you repeat the first part of that? We cannot do what if an average bill is not over $100?
Oh, so the state revolving fund, which offers the lowest interest rates for borrowing money for projects.
And potential forgiveness,
Yes.
maybe.
Yeah.
Everybody would, yes.
So most of the grant dollars that the federal government provides run through
ARPA,
that program.
ARPA ran all that money through
Yeah.
SRF.
Yeah, so it all goes through SRF and SRF decides how to divide it amongst different communities. And they've got different buckets that they can apply, but one of them is called a disadvantaged community or rate relief. Once your rates get to a certain level for your customers. And so that is, they're not usually going to step in, at least in the pooled financing program, unless your rate's over $100 for your average.
We'll look at our census data for all household incomes and then.
And even then, it's still based on that scoring system. So traditional funding, if you're in the fundable range for traditional funding, you get the first stab at it. Those communities are.
Are those new rates for the upcoming fiscal year for applying?
No,
for
that's
funds?
what's for 25. So it could change
Well,
next
we
year.
made the PPL list.
You were in the fundable range last year.
That was for last year.
Yeah, so it rescores every July, it changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so that's why we're assuming the pooled financing because when the city did not move forward with the project
Right. Yeah.
by June of 25,
Right.
then it got rescored and fell out of the fundable range.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but you can still go through the pooled financing, which doesn't give you subsidized interest rate, but it gives you the benefit of SRS AAA rating. So you can get a lower interest rate, but it's not as low as the subsidized. Yeah, you are welcome. So then the other options then are the proposed long-term control plan. So that is CSO separation at 4 different locations, location 1, 3, 4, and 5, based on information from our QAW. I think it gets, so where you see there's the second to last column is the current long-term control plan. That gets no overflows, I believe. And the proposed long-term control plan brings it down. It's not 0 overflows, but I think it gets it to like 2. I'm not an engineer, but I
We're like
think
2, 3%.
Yeah, it's like 99%. It's not 100%, but yeah. But
98%.
it's really good. But
Yeah.
And they want us to.
And they just keep standards like
$15 billion
85.
to get
Yeah,
2%.
it's stupid.
Yeah.
That's what we're.
yeah, so that's, yeah, it's a difference of $10 million in cost to go 2%. So-
Which I feel like some of the projects that we have proposed, I think that will take care of our.
Yes, so that's what the city is currently negotiating with IDEM right now. We added, it's the proposed long-term control plan with some wastewater treatment plant improvements that through your engineer's analysis thought probably needed to get done, are pretty high priority, emergency type improvements that needed to be done. So that's what that middle column is. And it's just a difference of a 2% increase, goes from 60% to 62% increase, or another $1. It brings the average bill from $88.67 to $89. So it's a $1 increase.
But in theory, we still won't get approved for funding without that being over $100.
Correct. So if you did all projects, that one's $102. And you're still like, and it's still not necessarily guaranteed that you would get that forgivable loan because you're in the pooled financing program, not the traditional. Because I don't think, when you were in the traditional, you didn't even get the award package that SRF offered, didn't have any grant money in it.
I had to do a lot of driving after. You're not the only one.
And so, and just for your knowledge, what those high priority wastewater treatment plant improvements are that our QAW identified was the oxidation ditch, drive replacement, UV disinfection, large clarifier wear cleaning, small clarifier improvements, and then aeration tank mixing and blower. And those descriptions are in the more detailed report that you have. Yeah, so you don't need to keep, yeah, I should have said that earlier. So yeah, if you, yes, it's in the minutes. So the full report, it's in there.
I couldn't even touch the
And then just, it's some late night reading for you in the binder.
Make me a binder so I can go to sleep.
But so, and then what the page 11 shows is just the proposed combined debt service. So the blue and the pink are your currently outstanding debt service payments, the 21A and B bonds that were refunding. So they were structured in a way to provide savings on that refunding. The purple and the green are the proposed projects, the proposed debt service. So we wrapped it as best as we could to level it out for the later years. But even with interest only in these first 4 to 5 years, it's pretty high, but then it will drop off. So looking, 5 years down the road, I would look at rates again, because if you're not doing a large project to issue debt, that debt service falls a lot. It drops off a lot in 5 years. And then here is Jeremy. So here's where on page 12, the rate funded capital project from RQAW. That's that 1.64 million. So over 5 years, that averages about 328,500.
The lift station repairs, the second from last, does that include every site at that price point?
I would have to ask Aaron at
Okay.
RQAW. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm not
Because I see
sure of
two
the
of them.
details behind.
I see
each
the
of
two
these.
above them spelled out specifically, but then just lift station repairs, I'm like every one of them needs a lot of love, so, okay.
And the lift stations, is that what I was getting confused with the project at the pump house? Is that,
I
okay,
remember that, yeah.
One water, one sewer.
And so then page 13 is what the mayor and Darcy and the long-term control plan group is currently assuming, which is that proposed long-term control plan with those high priority wastewater treatment improvements, phasing that in over 3 years. So that shows where you would need that, almost 40% increase just to get it current with your cash balances is phase 1, and then a 3.9% or 4% increase for phase 2 and phase 3. You can see kind of what the revenue requirements that are in each of those. So it's the 1.4 million about operating disbursements to 1.42 million in phase 2 and 3. Your debt service requirements for your currently outstanding bonds, and then those new bonds that would be issued in 2026 is what we're assuming, so that we don't include that debt services until phase 2 and 3. Phase 1, you'll see the debt service reserve, that 185,000 is just to get your current debt service reserve that's underfunded to bring that back up to where it needs to be, but then you'll see it drops in phase 2 and phase 3, because that'll be your new debt service reserve on the new bonds that you'll need to start building up the cash balances for that. A line item for your underfunded operating cash, building that back up over 3 years. So right now it's underfunded by about $400,000. So it's around 140,000 each year. And then for your replacements and improvements allowance, we saw that 5-year average is around 328,000, but to kind of try and smooth out the increases, we dropped that for the first couple of phases, and not getting to that 328,000 until phase 3. If you wanted to go out more phases, we could, but there probably won't. You might be able to do, I would look at once you get to those years, maybe to see if you could do a rate of reduction, because that underfunded operating cash is going to fall off at that time. But who knows if something else may take its place, because that's 3 or 4 years away. So just trying to build those cash balances and making sure you're collecting what you anticipate to collect, and reassessing at that time. Page 14 just shows kind of the drivers of the rate increase. So biggest driver is which is 53%. That's the operating disbursements, having increased significantly over the last 4 to 5 years. Then the underfunded operating cash, that's 14%. Capital is 10%, and then your debt service is 23%. Page 15 shows you, it's just a snapshot in time. So some of these phases, like phase 3, for example, the $83 is on this schedule, but 3 years from now, I guarantee most of these communities will have higher rates than they do now. So it's hard. It's always, this graph is always a game of leapfrog, is kind of how I explain it to people, because communities are always changing rates. So shows currently with the $55 rate, lower than most every other community, on this, graph. Then kind of in the middle with the, proposed phase one or no projects, just to get back to equal.
So this just shows the current rate. Like, I know some of these communities have 5-year rates, so every year for 5 years, it increases.
Yeah,
So
so it's
I
just. their
can
current rate.
actually tell you 3 of those that are right there. They go up every year. So they're at that point this year. I already know next year. They're looking at 5. I know one of them's looking at a 5% increase for next year.
Yeah, so it's only currently adopted rates. That's all it is.
Well, I know Churubusco is just finishing their big
Yep.
wastewater project.
They're getting ready to do another big push too.
Any questions on sewer before we go to stormwater?
So I just want the council to go into this eyes wide open. So through the report and your proposed rate increases, it builds in taking out of bonds, 2 different series, Series A and Series B bond in 2026. That is based upon being able to get.
I'd am to agree to the proposed long-term petroleum.
The
Yeah,
proposed, but then
And-
also that the bonds will be, that we can sell the bond.
well, it. Through the state revolving fund, it's, we wouldn't be, we're not recommending going on the open market. We're recommending issuing them through the state revolving fund. So anybody on that project priority list can issue debt through the pooled program for the state revolving fund.
So my concern for this community is when we look at page 8, we have the minimum balance requirements for the existing bonds out there. And we have to reach these minimum balances by the end of this year, or else we'll be in breach of the bond.
Yeah, you'll be in default. You'll have to submit, and we handle your continuing disclosure requirements as well, for the city. So we would have to post a notice on Emma.
And then with that notice, I think it forecloses getting any bonds on the market.
It's a red flag to investors. I wouldn't say it forecloses, and the state revolving fund doesn't. The state revolving fund is not the open market. So that's
Yeah,
why
I
we
understand.
recommend that option.
But the state revolving fund will also though look at.
They won't move forward unless you have adopted rates to justify you're going to be able to make the payments on the bonds.
Are you
So, yeah.
recommending that option because it's the only option we have?
Yes.
And so with the bond and the bond rating, then there's an insurance requirement as well, right? That we would have to pay additional for. Is that part of also the state revolving?
There's not an insurance requirement. You can get bond insurance if you go on the open market, but the state revolving fund is different.
That's
It's a
why they
different
want pool. All the communities are throwing their money into one pot and the state's kind of playing that role
Yeah.
on our behalf.
So yeah, the state issues bigger bonds. They combine all communities that I don't know how I want to word this, but can't go out in the open market basically, and issue debt on their own because they're not big enough. They can't, they're in a tough situation financially. So they use their AAA rating, they pull in all of these communities projects and I know, for example, the fall pool is going to be around $250 million for SRF. And then they distribute that to the smaller projects, to each community. But they use their AAA rating to get a better interest rate than you could go out and get on your own. Because if Alexandria goes to S&P, Standard & Poor's on their own, and they see, the financial situation, the underfunded balances, you're probably not going to get an investment grade rating. You're going to get a rating that's probably BBB, maybe something less, and then that'll.
And that's where you would buy insurance to then basically buy your rating up a little bit. But
But a lot of
Then you're
times,
paying
those
a lot
bond
higher.
insurance companies, if you have that low of a rating, they're also not gonna come in and insure you.
And that was my fear,
Yeah.
like with all of, okay. thank
Yeah, so
you.
that's why you want to go through the state revolving fund, because it takes that out of the equation.
And with the state revolving fund, if they only have X amount and there's all these small communities, then what determines?
Oh, yeah, if we don't get funded, we gotta wait.
But there's a possibility we
Yes,
could not,
there's a very high
correct? I mean, no
possibility we
one
don't
said,
get funded.
okay. That kind of wasn't
you have-
said.
That's brass tacks.
It's, so they give spots in the pool fund, so technically, anybody on their project priority list qualifies to go through their pooled funding program. The problem is that there are so many communities on that list that it's first come, first served to just get on their calendar, because they only have so many openings for just the closing dates and times. So it's just letting them know early, and then they take that list of the communities that they'll let them know early and look at where they are on the list and kind of just organize it that way on who gets spots.
But we don't want to put carts before horses, and start these things that then if we don't, we can't pay for.
Correct.
That's what I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
I'm following. Okay, and that everyone is here. Thank you.
So there's kind of a stop the bleeding recommendation right now.
Yeah, the 40% just to get current.
That's, and that's not gonna make you current tomorrow,
No.
right?
yeah,
Even with that, because you gotta go through the whole rate increase time period. I don't know how you're going to rectify your bond position right now
Right.
before the end of this year. And so there's a lot of work that's gonna have to be done.
Are we, I'm not good with terminology, I got it. Underfunded something.
Underfunded operating cash.
Yeah, I know we spent a bunch on washing the street, but I thought some of that was getting sent back to us or refunded 80/20.
Yeah,
Are
Mayor,
we getting any more
Mayor submitted that request to me today. I don't have that. I don't have
underfunded
that.
operating cash? I just didn't know how much money we might be, because they gotta wait for that to close, or the project has to
No,
close.
Every month we get reimbursables,
Okay, so
and those have been put back in. as they
So that
were
money
received.
gets, okay, so we're not looking to get $500,000. There's not any kind of windfall coming. Okay, I didn't know if there's any extra money still out there we're waiting to get back from that project. Okay.
Those have been ongoing.
And those will show up on our appropriate.
On your revenue
Revenue,
report.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I got appropriation on it.
Are we good with sewer? Ready for stormwater?
No.
No.
We're not. Do we understand? Do we have any other questions on sewer? Again.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. Okay, so stormwater. So again, just the cash balances, there's just the operating fund for stormwater. Was 50,000 in 22, went up to 84,000 in 23, and then it was at 33,000 at the end of 24. It was like. So the labels got removed from hers, but that's 22, 23, and 24.
it's currently-
But then showing here, again, is similar to sewer, the historical receipts and disbursements over the last 3 years. So here, and for stormwater, the rates were last increased in 2018, so 7 years ago. And the revenue requirements, so you see total receipts coming in around 240,000. Pretty high in 22, it was around 330,000, but then drops in 23. And then in 24, it's around 290,000. But either way, each of those 3 years and the rate analysis we did in 2020, the costs for the stormwater were estimated to be 188,600. And each of the past 3 years have exceeded that estimate. Page 19, so the historical disbursement analysis kind of goes into those major classifications a little more. So for operating disbursements, of that 2020 rate analysis was around 152,000. 22 was 100,000 more than that at 250,000. 23 was close, was at 158,000, and then 24 was about $50,000 higher at 200,000. And then capital improvements, it looks like a little bit of what contributed to that might have, for 24 anyway, might have been contractual services, that it was about $14,000 or $12,000 higher. but mostly capital. That was about $22,000 higher. It was estimated to be 69,000 in the 2020 rate analysis. And then the minimum recommended balance here, stormwater is, you're just considering the operating fund is right at that 2 months of operations. So overfunded just a little bit, like 350,000 or $350, sorry. There is not an improvement fund right now, but if there was an improvement fund, for capital, projects, we would recommend that at kind of your historical capital projects, which is 78,000, but neither one, since there's not any outstanding debt of the stormwater utility, this is just recommended minimum balances based on industry best practices, nothing required. Because there's no outstanding bond ordinance for those. Page 21, shows 3 different alternatives for rate increases for the stormwater. Having your operating disbursements at around 200,000. For the estimated future operations, debt service of 50,000. So that's just contributing money towards the sewer projects, the CSO separations. And you can justify that that's also stormwater is a reason you're having to separate those sewer overflows. You can justify having stormwater contribute money to those debt service payments. So that's what this is doing. Here, it was the $50,000 number actually came from the asset management plan that 1898, I think, had put together. Based on information from our QAW, they had a total amount that the stormwater was contributing, and we divided that over the life of the loans to get that 50,000. So that's where that information comes from. And then the differences between each alternative then is for your capital projects, that's that replacements and improvements line. So just one so the alternative 2 is the average historical capital project. So that's that 78,000, showing one alternative that's less than that and one alternative that's higher than that. So the 50,000 and the 100,000 is just different options. Just as I mentioned, because there's no minimum requirement for the stormwater. But so then where that percentage wise, it's anywhere between 35% to 57% increase. Based on the alternative 2, which is your historical capital, so that 48%, the cost drivers there, the operating disbursements is about 45%. So operating disbursements and then that debt service contribution of 50,000. Those are both around 45% of the drivers in the increase, and then capital is around 9%. And then again, that rate comparison graph on page 23, so showing Alexandria's current rates at $4.50. Most communities are usually around that $5 to $6 range. Other, except for Muncie and Tipton are a lot higher, than $9 and $11.85. But so each of those alternatives, so alternative 1 would be increasing at about $1.80. Alternative 2 is $2.20, and alternative 3 is about $2.70. Maybe do real quick math there. So,
Not that insult to injury, we probably have a capital project needed after our last flood that identified some areas that overdue, some funding projects in the past we used to have the money to do 20 years ago.
and
They kind of pop up and get big rains, and there's probably $1.5 million we need to do with an Okra project or something we can build in there.
Yeah, and so, and I will state for stormwater, water and sanitation, we didn't have because there's not an engineer working on a long-term control
Right.
plan, so we didn't have a
Project list or-
capital improvement plan over the next 5 years for those
I don't think
utilities.
for stormwater, we have any kind of preliminary engineering report for anything right now. I don't think we have any.
Yeah, so that's why we use the historical
Data.
average to come up with those
And our
alternatives, but
storm-
certainly can change that if you think it should be
Our storm
something.
funds used to be tax revenue based,
Okay,
and we switched it when everything changed. And
Yeah.
so now we're utility based versus used to be tax funded.
gotcha. Yeah, and if there's anything in those, when you have more time to look through like the detailed report that supports this presentation, anything you think you have questions on or you think should be changed, Darcy has my information, certainly, so I have cards on me, I can give you all, if you want to email me directly, so.
Be happy to talk through anything with you. So any other questions on stormwater? Water will be next. So water, again, showing the cash balances, a little over $1 million in 22, and dropping to about 665,000 in 23, and then 66,830 at the end of 24. That is, however, with a negative operating fund balance of negative 81,765. So then showing the historical receipts, disbursements, and cash balances. Similar to sewer and stormwater, the rates were last increased in 2016, so 9 years ago. When we did the rate analysis in 2020, the revenue requirements or costs of the water utility were around $900,000. You can see that in 22, it was about even with what you were bringing in receipts. You're bringing about $1 million in receipts every year. In 22, the disbursements were around $1 million. In 23, they jumped up to $1,375,000. And then in 24, they jumped up to about $1.7 million. So $800,000 higher than what was estimated in the 2020 rate analysis revenue requirements.
I know in the other projects, you kind of had like a little caveat as to where you saw the reason for that.
Yeah,
So I
so,
missed it. Or am I?
oh yeah, it's on the next page. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
I pulled the string.
Right.
We're not related.
But yeah, so you'll see here in the 2020 rate analysis, the operating disbursements estimated for the future were around 815,000. In 22, they were around 900,000. In 23, they were $1,014,000. And then in 24, they were $1,160,000. So about $200,000 to $300,000 higher than each year. The main thing for the operating that's driving that is personnel. Again, salaries and wages and employee benefits we were estimating around 437,000 about, and then it was a little bit higher in 22 at 600,000, but then in 23, 733,000, and in 24, 828,000. So it was $300,000 higher in 24. Also, the capital improvements for water, in the 2020 rate analysis, we were provided with an estimate for capital projects of 84,000 annually. And all 3 years were beyond that. Only about 30,000 higher in 22 at 111,000. But then in 23, it was at 357,000. And in 24, it was 418,000 spent on capital projects. Showing on page 28, those minimum, similar to sewer, those minimum recommended balances. And again, unlike sewer, but similar to stormwater, there's no debt outstanding on the water utility. So these are just recommended minimum balances based on best practices. It's not required per any legal document. But so shows, that minimum recommended of 2 months in the operating fund. So under that by about $300,000, negative 300,000. And then just maintaining, the balance in the meter deposit only used for return to customers, tank maintenance of the 7,800 only used for tank maintenance. But then we also show an improvement fund recommended balance in there based on historical improvements. And so then 3 alternatives for water on page 29. And so showing the operating disbursements at about 1,337,000. Again, that underfunded operating cash, so that's that negative 300,000 for just that operation fund. We don't have the improvement fund in there. Building that back up over 3 years, so that's where that 101,600 comes from. I know there's been a lot of strain on property tax supportive funds, so we did include in one of the alternatives if the city, I know back in 2020 elected not to do one, but we're just showing you for your information. you wanted to put anything in there for payment in lieu of taxes. So that's in there for alternative one, that's the maximum amount you could justify, so that could be any number between 0 and that. For payment in lieu of taxes, and then your replacements and improvements. Alternatives 1 and 2, the 520,000. That was based on, so the alternative 3 is the 230,000, which is your average. Don't remember if it's 500. Oh, so the 520,000 is based on an annual depreciation allowance, which is 2% of your current utility plant and service, which is like 26 million. They're just showing that as the max of all your capital assets that you have for the water utility, and they're depreciating annually at 2%. So that kind of gives you an annual amount of having to replace those in the future. The justification for a depreciation allowance calculation. So that's the 520,000 in alternatives 1 and 2. But alternative 3 is lower, that about 231,000, which is what you've been spending historically. Capital projects. So that has the different alternatives, the percentage increase. And so this is one that I want to point out that percentages can be misleading. So where alternative 1 is 162%, alternative 2 is 103%, and alternative 3 is 73%. The reason those percentages are so high is because your current bill is $17.72. So a really low starting number is going to give you a higher percentage. So just wanted to point that out. So you'll see the drivers on page 30. The biggest cost driver is the operating disbursements for the water, increasing about 68% from when we looked at the rates in 2020. The underfunded operating cash is 13%, and then the capital projects is 19%. This is based on the alternative 3 option, where the capital projects are just at your historical average of 231,000. Then page 31 there shows based on the average monthly bill for $4,000 or 4,000 gallons going present, Alexandria's current rates are towards the low end, the lowest among the Indiana communities on this graph. So going from the $17.72 to about $30.66 for the alternative 3, almost $36 for alternative 2, and around $46 for alternative 1. But still less than like Muncie or Orestes. And those are Muncie's current rates, and I know they are currently going through, I think they just adopted, because I know they just adopted rates for a long-term control plan with item. And so their rates are increasing significantly. So they will be much higher than that $54.
But this is water again, right?
Or, yeah, sorry, this is water. You're right. I got confused.
Did this take into account painting the south water tower using by chance?
When was that done?
No, it needs.
Oh, it needs to be done now. So this was just historic. It's only
She did
based
some
on.
capital maintenance.
Yeah, I did not have a capital improvement plan for water for the next 5 years. Would the 500,000 cover it? Because that's your depreciation allowance. So would you, how much is it?
It's $500,000 to $1 million to paint a tower now.
And then, meter replacement, and then heat house. Anything to do with heat house.
Wait, so what we had for, so I thought you meant,
I don't know. Sorry.
I thought you meant replacing a tower,
So-
so painting a tower, there is tank maintenance in the
Okay, good.
operating disbursements.
Okay, good.
But we have that at about 467,000. So there's about 23,356 a year. For
We have to
that.
see what the numbers come in. These days, a good recoat of the towers goes anywhere from 400 to 800.
Okay. So yeah, so right now we've got it, at 467. So if
You can put a lesser product on it, but it doesn't last 20 years.
So yeah, you want us to change that number, just let us know and we
Well,
can
no, I
update
just
it.
need to know what's in the numbers, so.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's what's in
in the operating disbursements is repainting the tank for $467,000.
But there's nothing in there for PFAS replacement lines, there's nothing in there for meter replacement.
Yeah.
This is, yeah.
Is there a reason they didn't have that information?
But I can't answer that.
So what we did for the tank maintenance, I will tell you, because we asked for periodic maintenance information.
Sure.
And we're not able to get it, so we, used what we had from the 2020 rate study and increased it based on CPI each year. So that's how we got
And
the
we did paint the
467,000.
north one, it's probably ran about that, but that was a while ago. The north one.
Because we knew we wanted to include something for tank painting, because that's the largest expense of a water utility usually.
Yes, yeah,
So-
yeah. Thank you.
That was page 31. Any other water questions? So that was the end of water.
And the state's funding a lot of the lead service line replacement stuff, but not
Yes.
necessarily all of it, but they're trying to help fund a bunch of that.
Yeah, so they have, when I was speaking to the sewer and the different funds that the state revolving fund has to allocate to projects, there is a very specific fund that's lead service line based that only, that money only goes to lead service line projects, and that is completely grant based, so it's a forgivable loan, so you wouldn't have to pay that back.
But do they have a revenue, do they have a rate requirement?
Not for lead service
Not for
lines.
service.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sanitation, the cash balances. So this we actually looked back and it's the negative, the operating fund balance has been negative since it looks like 2019 for this one, but 22 was at negative 93,000 almost. 23 was negative 164,000 and 24 is negative 281,500. So historical receipts, 22 and 23, the receipts were around 270,000. Receipts above disbursements in 22, the disbursements were around 240,000. But then in 23, the disbursements jump up to almost 344,000. 24, your receipts are a little higher, 322,000, I believe, due to increase in those trash rates and large items rates at the end of 24. So we did normalize for that, the revenue requirement schedule. But your total disbursements also increased for 24 to 440,000. And most of that, the last time we did a rate analysis for sanitation was in 22. Operating disbursements were around 420,000 then. And the total operations are around 440,000, so not anything too much higher than what we had anticipated in the rate analysis. It's just in that 22 rate analysis, we had recommended a rate increase at that time, and it just didn't get addressed until it looked like 2024. The sanitation fund, again, minimum balance recommended because there's no outstanding legal documents that require any balances, but so based on 2 months of operations, underfunded by about negative 375,000. Then on page 37, so we broke this down to looking at so we could see kind of what's driving the large disbursements. We looked at trash, large items, and recycling. And trash is like the rate has been, it needs a rate increase. It's more the large items, but I think it's recycling that is also bringing in, is the rates are too low. I don't think those have been, I don't know if those have been changed. It's been $7.50 for a long time. Yeah. So, and I think you're getting charged almost double that by Best Way for recycling. It's like $15. I did have one question. So some of it, like what Best Way is currently charging, there were 2 letters from Best Way. One was
the waste removal extension letter dated November 1st of 23, but then there's also a solid waste and recycling plan dated November 4th of 24. But it appears based on the historical expenses that Best Way is charging you based on the letter dated November 1st of 23, not the plan dated 24. So I wasn't sure why that was. Okay. So we kept it with the 23 extension letter for this, but just some of those still, questions that we had is why that's still draft in your binders, that, reports. But then just stating that, we normalize the trash collections and the large item collections for those increases that happened in the fall of 24. And then show on each of the next 3 pages, if you wanted to, for the trash, large items and recycling, instead of increasing it all at once, since those, letters or the rates from the Best Way are over a 5-year period, could phase those in over 5 years, if you wanted to. And so that's what pages 38, 39, and 40 look at. So that first phase, for trash, with that first phase being 23%. So that's just to help get you current. And then just keeping up with Best Way's increases for the 4 years after that, with a 5% each year after that initial phase 1 increase. Same with the large items, the 76% in phase 1, but then just a % or 2 to keep up with any increases. And mainly those increases, because the letter doesn't say any increases for the large item costs from Best Way. So that's more of just inflationary increases from your operating disbursements.
Sorry, when you're referring to the letter from Best Way, it's this
Is that which one is that?
2024, 11/4/24.
So that's where I was saying, so there's that letter, but then there is a waste removal extension letter dated November 1st of 2023. And based on the disbursements that are recorded in the system, the rates that are being charged are the letter from 23, not that plan from 24. And I don't know why that is.
So are we currently being charged for the additional bulky item? And before the additional bulky item was done by the city?
So
Or am I
let me back that up, because I think I mishmashed. So the pickup that happens on the 3rd Monday of the month is no charge to the city. That is included in the contract. However, there are residents that are still utilizing large trash pickup that are coming to the utility office to pay for that provided service.
And who provides that currently?
The street, yep.
City.
Us. Mhm.
So the bulky item pickup here isn't,
Nope.
that's not being utilized.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
No, ma'am.
And then recycling, so again, just shows phase 1, 147% just to get recycling back up to a balanced budget of revenues and disbursements, and then 5% each year based on the increases from Best Way.
And when you're talking recycling, you're only talking home service?
The curbside recycling. That's not the recycling center that is a amenity of this.
So this reviews contractual services only,
Correct.
nothing to do with our recycle center.
Correct. That's an amenity. That's a service provided by the city.
So anything that's paid out of that sanitation.
So any overhead operation salary from that
Oh,
sanitation?
that is, okay,
Yes.
so
Is
that is in
included?
this.
Yes,
That
yes,
is
that is,
included
yeah,
in this.
that's those
I
salaries.
apologize. I thought you were looking for rate structure for the,
I
For
was
the
until she
recycling
said
center.
that, so that
Yes.
prompted me to ask the other.
versus the curbside recycling.
No,
Yes.
originally we were on the same page, and then when she said that, it made me.
Gotcha. That's where we separate.
Because that's not, however, the expenditures are included.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So then page 41 just shows a comparison graph for this is just trash. because we didn't have the information for large items or recycling, for other communities. But shows, again, Alexandria, even with the rate increase in 24 on the lower end at the $16.40 currently. And then page 43, the last page, show that we don't have trash on here because we didn't have trash for all these communities, but it has combined sewer, water, and stormwater for Alexandria and then neighboring communities. Showing with the different alternatives where all combined utilities other than trash.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jessica. Give you all my, I know it was a lot of information. My phone number's on there too.
I know you want to look at it.
Thank you. I know you're not Bill, but.
Recess for potty break, everybody.
Now let's go.
Okay. And your paycheck tonight, Don.
I might have to score another meeting. This one might lapse. I'm gonna have to look.
We have recommended by Alan, facade grant application. And one asking for disbursements of facade grant monies. What is, the asking for disbursement is Rick Etchison at 208, 220 North Harrison. And he's asking us to release $6,124.91.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
I will refuse that facade. Thank
And the other one is, the application is
you. Refuse from this one.
Chris McCurry, owner of 224 North Harrison Street. The proposed project has a total cost of $10,637, and which 50% would be $5,318.50.
I think we need some more documentation.
I'm out of it. And just so everyone knows, this is grant money through food and beverage. It has nothing to do with everything you just discussed. I want to make
All in favor?
that.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Now back to the topic.
We're at 19212 and 19297, in the amount of $218,008.12.
Not to put you on the spot, Mr. Council, but give us a quick refresher earlier, what you kind of summarized as far as maybe recommendations on paying, certain funds with negative balances versus those that are current or have been current. And the utilities are the ones that seem to be the real issue at the moment. Obviously, general fund's got issues too, but go ahead, Carl.
So the concern is that if you approve expenditures from already negative accounts, you are just creating a larger deficit. those funds have to come from someplace. And so we need to see where how you guys are going to pay that cash. So while you see those negative balances, essentially what has happened is some other fund of the cities has that much less money in it, or a combination of those funds has that much less money in it because that negative balance is on paper. You've paid this stuff, so it's come from someplace. Continuing to spend through negative funds only increases that. And so, but I hear what your concern was earlier. We got certain expenses such as we bought tires or wheels for trucks that have to be out on the road. And so the vendors who have actually done the work that needs to be taken care of. You know, the first way that I talked about it was making a motion to approve warrants that are paid through funds that are not in a negative balance. But I don't think that encompasses the concerns that you've raised. I mean, I guess the way that I would think through this would be potentially a motion to approve claims not from a negative balance and those for services already rendered by vendors. But still, it's until you dig in and know what's what.
In theory, that can mean everything gets paid.
Correct.
I don't have a problem paying stuff that's got a positive cash balance, just, paying the bills we can pay.
And is the reason that services are already paid to the vendors because of an ordinance that's put on file?
I don't know that they've been paid to the vendors.
Oh,
When I'm
okay.
saying the service has been provided. to you.
Provided,
So
I-
somebody's put
Some
on
may, some may not be.
something on a truck that they're carrying the balance now
I'm sorry, okay.
and are billing you for.
So if I whiz through this really fast, I can tell you everything has been held. Pepper, IRS. Centerpoint. Bank of New York. Indiana Department of Revenue. Indiana Michigan Power. I do still have the check for Alexandria Utilities. And that's this first one. The ones I rattled off were already paid by ordinance.
There's a conundrum. So the money, the bills have to get paid. Do they come out of these that kind of detail them back to, I hope, to what they were used for? So the tires, does that come from the water department because their piece of equipment needed that? That's what I'm hoping that we can trace that to. If we don't pay it out of therefore, then the water department, does it come from Parks, who has a positive cash balance? I don't know, but the money has to come from somewhere. Is that right? That's the gist of it. That's ugly. I mean, and I think it further complicates things.
A few months ago, we talked about like what funds can what be paid out of. You heard me ask that before. And that's like trying to wrap my brain around or figure out what funds can be paid from what. And if you have, I'm confused about the fact then too, that as far as what is an appropriation then, because if it's not there, do you take from one fund and put it in a different one by doing an appropriation? And when is that necessary? When is it not?
So with you asking that question, now, can I answer that one real quickly so we don't get too far away from it? One way to think about it is your budget is appropriation number one, right? So in your budget for
that you are going to consider this next meeting, that is an appropriation of the general fund dollars that you're anticipating. Any money that is not covered under that budget, so any expenditure that is not within that budget that you are going to spend out of general fund dollars, you should have an additional appropriation for.
What's the process for an additional appropriation?
It is identifying the major budget category that it's going to go into and which fund it's going to. So let's just talk about general fund. And Chief, you're in my line of sight, so I'm going to use the fire department. And so it is you need to buy toilet paper for the fire department. And so that would go into.
It wasn't budgeted previous.
That wasn't budgeted previous.
Okay.
I'm just on. So out of your 5 major budget categories, one of them is the supply, right?
Mhm.
So within, you appropriate into the supply major budget category of the fire department within the general fund, the money that you need for those supplies. Right? If it's a shortfall in payroll, that's a different major budget category. You have your debt service and stuff like that. Your capital is going to be another major budget category that you're going. So it could be the fire department that we heard, or the building, the work that's there, if that's not appropriated. If you are going to spend funds there that you don't have appropriated in the budget, you need to do an additional appropriation into that line item. I call it a line item, but it's really the major budget category.
In the category.
Category.
But is that a council action?
It's a council action.
Okay.
You guys are the only ones that can approve on it.
But is it public hearing level?
Yes. So every appropriation, you essentially say, have a document that you've got to advertise, say, we are going to have a public hearing to appropriate X amount of dollars out of these tax dollars, and we are going to put them into the fire, general fund, fire services contractual.
If there was money there though to cover it.
If there's money there that's covers that you've
If he was
already
sitting on $1
appropriated.
million to fix the building, other than procurement and architects and engineers, we could do it without additional appropriation.
If he is sitting on money in his capital line.
In the
Stuff
proper,
that can be
in the
utilized.
proper
We can't use his supply money
for the building.
for the building
Right.
unless we go through a transfer within that.
And that's why it's so important for the department heads to work with Darcy on.
Now, transfers within funds though don't need meetings per se. It depends on which fund's going where and what's going
Yes.
where. Okay.
It depends upon which series it's coming. If it's a like series, you're generally okay. If it's not, then you've got to go through kind of like a transfer document or a reappro, but it's not going to be to the level of an additional
A new, like
appropriation.
additional.
Correct. It is an action that you can say, hey, we're moving this money from here to here. It's already appropriated money. It's in the same series until making a change.
And where I know part of my confusion is, and even right now, is the fact that we don't see utility monies.
They're not
So we
controlled.
don't see it, but and that's back with the family tree type of thing, like Board of Works will approve monies to be spent from these things, but then we have to approve the claim without knowing how much money was in there to know whether or not the money was spent. So that's where I get very confused as far as trying to keep track of those, or when trying to, when we come to the salary ordinances and different things, when you have the contracts between the different or departments that work with Board of Works. Council's not aware of any of that, but yet we're the ones that have to approve the salaries or look like a bad person if we don't give a percentage that we, think, those type of things. So there's so much to this. And not only looking out for our employees, but looking out for the community and these type of things that, that's where the lines get confusing for me. I don't know about the rest of you, is just because of the different Board of Works versus council, what they can approve, what monies they see, what they don't, and then trying to merge it all together. So it encompasses so much more than I think what we're thinking through. And that's just my own opinion. So for what it's worth, I just wanted to say that as well. So when I keep talking about family tree per se, it's just because, you know, if they approve this, but we're the ones that have to approve it on claims, but we don't know how much money they had when they approved it. It's confusing.
I hear you.
Just the way that the government is set up in general, I mean, the way that governing of things are set up. So I just wanted to throw that, because a lot of times I'll look at that too and think, oh, that isn't part of what we're budgeting, because it's the sewer, that has nothing to do with what we're looking for the tax funding. So I just want to make sure everyone else is aware of that, because it took me a little bit to try to keep each year learning a little more about it. And you wanna-
We can pay the bills on the money we got and have another special session like you guys did that I think, but to sort through what we can and can't pay.
That's what I say we have to do.
I don't know what
Yes,
else
I don't
to do.
know.
I don't know what else to do either. I think we need further communication about this. And then also,
I'll make the
holding
next one.
on the COEs, which were the correction of errors. Pending Darcy's, communication she's going to give us, which shows her workflow for correcting the chunk of negative funds that she's been able to correct so far. So she has that backup detail to share with us, which we haven't seen yet. She produced it today. So I would say that we will proceed with paying claims out of funds that have a positive cash balance, not withholding payroll, and excluding COE until we have a working session on, or not a working session, a regular meeting with action on
The 20th.
the 20th.
Yeah, the motion to include perp and insurance.
Is that the motion? That was my motion. All of that was a motion.
I'll second.
On favor,
Aye.
all opposed.
Okay. Now, I think I will take the claims out, so the ones, you still should take action on the payroll.
Do we have to do the other ones, or is that? you think that's clear?
Well, we can,
Well, because the COs are in the, COEs are in the second set of warrants, correct?
Mhm.
So that motion encompassed warrant 19212 through 19387. So it encompassed both of those. Okay. And so now you're looking at the approval table.
Payroll for September 5th, 2025. 127, 986 for you.
Second. All in favor,
Aye.
all opposed.
Payroll for September 19th, 2025, 149, 511, 48.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor,
Aye.
all opposed.
And then September pension, $19,045.80.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Anybody have anything to say? Now, the next meeting will be Monday, October.
what time? Okay, yes.
Second.
Me and Roger.
Thank you, guys.
The commute is like 10 steps to my bedroom. So.
And then this is how one of my.
Yes.
I used to, when I was coming up the stairs, I'd count my dog.
2 hours. Yeah, and I would be. Yeah. So here's how they all, here's about the cap. Please hire us. It would be brutal. Now, one
No,
time-
they're all against us. That's. Thank you, though, but that's not true. They're not for us.
Hired by Indianapolis Public Schools.
Right.
She's gonna have to do it right now. Graduate.
Oh.
Law enforcement.
I don't know that it goes to schools or not.
Well, I think that. Because the law took effect like. He had to be all December. I know what departments are getting.
The attorney wouldn't show up.
One of the
I'm happy I'm not.
certified.
But I'll tell you what, it's really interesting.
But it's such a new law, I don't know that's really been played out.
Okay, I just didn't know.
I really found Indiana. Struggling.
So he hired in before the law took effect. And we're looking to hire him. We're still, he's in our process. We interviewed him today.
Living here in our
What happened was I think that the sugar.
Because that'll make a difference. They get hired or not. And we'll have to turn around and take that chance. He's our number one candidate.
Well,
I will get that.
back.
All right.
I gotta send an E30 picture.
Yes.
It says present expenses. I haven't read the actual law, but what I read article wise, wages and benefits may or may not be. But then you have the hiring process, you have your testing.
It was like
You'll be
45
looking
and
at
65 years ago.
$78,000.
Last year was 65 and 85, so.
He hired in before the law took effect and he hasn't graduated yet. So
I've never seen
Good
them
luck.
provide
I got
grant funding to,
because I'm scared that it will trigger
a
one time.
a pool financing.
the loophole that departments think they have is as long as they can get them before graduation, they can do it. But I don't think that's been played out by courts because it's only a 3-month walk. It's been around 3 months.
Oh, yeah, for the residential impact, basically, like.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I remember the knee of the curve on long-term control plans back. in the day.
Yeah.
And then what's the
It's like-
percentage?
It's part of the job.
Just like dollars, like,
Yeah.
you know.
The amount that it's been increasing is just crazy.
Right.
Hi, Mr.